Alright, so this is going to be the transmission, wheelie bar mount, and wheelie bar portion of my build breakdown. This is not going to be a how-to build a no prep RC. This is going to be basically how I build a no prep RC. I've got a fully custom NSCRC chassis build going on, and I'm going to basically make a video for each segment of how I go about building the RC. And I'm doing a few things my own way, and if people like it, they can try it out. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and show what I'm doing here. Now the main portion of this is gonna be for mounting a wheelie bar with the RPM wheelie bar mount or motor gear mount, whatever you want to call it, to a hot racing transmission with the NSCRC chassis. Now the reason that this is important is because on the NSCRC chassis, as you can see, the rear end plate is cut out on the ends. So the STRC wheelie bar mount or motor guard will not actually fit unless you put in an additional metal plate. Now there's some guys that will put a metal plate here that extends and gives you a piece of metal to mount the wheelie bar mount to. That gives you a secure mounting point, and then what they'll do is they'll drill, they'll get an aluminum shock tower, drill some holes into that, and run a turnbuckle that goes from this point here to the shock tower to square up and make the wheelie bar really secure in place. I go about doing this just a little bit differently. Instead of using the metal plates underneath the chassis, and instead of using the turnbuckles to an aluminum shock tower, what I've done is made a brace with carbon fiber that connects to the top portion of the wheelie bar mount, and the same thing for the bottom portion, and these both bolt directly to the transmission case. So that does is it basically boxes up the mount, the wheelie bar mount, and the transmission, so that there's zero flex at all. This is, I mean, it's as stiff as it can get. There's not going to be any flex between the wheelie bar mount and the transmission, so everything should be nice and solid, and you don't need any of that extra metal on the bottom there, or the aluminum shock towers with the turnbuckles going there. So that's going to be the basic case, transmission case, wheelie bar mount, and wheelie bar. And then what I'm putting inside is going to be right here. This is the hot racing aluminum Traxxas / Bandit diff case with the standard Traxxas planetary, or I'm not sure what to call them, gears inside. When it comes to the diff fluid that went inside the hot racing aluminum diff housing diff case, I went with 125,000 weight TRL diff fluid. This is a suggestion that I took from the 707 boys, and a lot of people suggest this as a great starting point for the diff fluid. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay with this. This is just where I'm going to start at. So this might eventually change. I don't know, but the starting point is going to be 125,000 weight diff fluid. I'm using the Proline idler gear, and this is running with a Traxxas metal top gear. The shaft itself, though, this is an STRC shaft. This allows me to run the team associated slipper gears, spur gear and slipper clutch. This is a press fit, so the metal gear slides on a little bit, and then you'll need a puller to pull that on there, and it's a very, very snug, tight fit. There's no movement around, and that's on there pretty tight. Now I've got this shimmed up for this transmission, but of course I'm going to make sure that the shims are properly set inside here. So with that, oh yeah, also the bearings that I'm using all the way around inside the transmission and inside all the carriers are Jim's bearings. I might eventually upgrade everything to ceramic bearings, but for right now, Jim's bearings are very good bearings. And if there is any benefit to running ceramics, then going from these to those should show an improvement. So we'll see if later on in the build, if I do an upgrade from the Jim's bearings to ceramics, we'll see what kind of benefits that gets us. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is just go ahead and throw these gears inside this transmission and then throw that back on the RC, get it all buttoned up and stuff. All right, so back in a minute. All right, so we got everything back together and back onto the chassis. I'm just gonna go over a couple of things and the reasons why I've done some of the things that I've done. I've gone ahead and used an aluminum case transmission. Over the years of running lots of different kinds of RC, you realize that when you push these things hard, hit high RPM with the bearings and the diffs inside the carriers and the transmission, the plastic tends to get a little bit of flex to it. And when there's a little bit of flex and a little bit of deflection in the gears, something breaks. And I've had a lot of good experience running aluminum cases where in some hardcore bashers I do some stupid stuff with the aluminum case. They just seem to hold up. So aluminum case and metal gears, I think, is something that you need to have inside a transmission. And so that's what I've done with mine. Now, because I've got an aluminum case, and because we're doing no prep RC, I went ahead and got the NSCRC motor plate. This is gonna basically offset some of the extra weight that I've added from putting an aluminum transmission in there. So instead of having a metal motor plate, it's a carbon fiber motor plate. It also gives me some room to just to run more different types of gearings, because the motor plate it's got a larger adjustment area. I've also gone ahead and run MIP heavy duty bandit spec axles. The reason I've gone ahead and done that is because I have bad experience with plastic axles. I always pop them off the C-hubs or break the spines in pretty much every kind of RC that I run. So I always run metal CBD, and MIPs are always the best ones to go with, so I had to put them in here. They're very, very smooth. Transmission seems to run very good. These tires are not mounted, so they're not balanced or anything like that. They might be a little wobbly, but you can see how that transmission moves. So with that, I also didn't want to add any weight with metal plates for the wheelie bar support. I didn't want to add any turnbuckles or be forced to run aluminum shock towers that are very high that I would need to brace the turnbuckles to. So I went ahead and avoided all that using this carbon fiber setup over here. So there's no more additional bracing or mounting or anything else that needs to be done on the back side there. As you can see, I'm running a carbon fiber shock tower, so I wouldn't be able to just drill a brace for the turnbuckle to go there. It would be a little bit difficult for me with this type of setup, so I have it set up a little bit differently, and hoping this is going to work out. I will also make a note that in order to do the modification to the RPM wheelie bar mount and the hot racing transmission, the top part is actually threaded all the way through, so there's no issue. You can just screw from the other side in, and the top brace will bolt up easy. On the bottom side though, the hole is not threaded all the way through. So you do need to tap that bottom hole in order to screw the bottom brace in so you can get the full bracing if this is something that you want to do. With that, I'm going to give you some more videos on the rest of the build as it comes together. I'm also going to go over the chassis that I'm using. I'm using an NSCRC Street Eliminator chassis, not the Black Widow. I think this chassis has a few advantages over the Black Widow for Street Eliminator. So with that, hope you guys like the video, and stay tuned for more on this build. It's going to be coming together soon. Should have the motor in not too long. And as far as the electronics, we have an R1 Works Digital 3. We got the high power capacitor, the Wi-Fi module for tuning and telemetry, and of course the ESC itself. So the motor should be coming in soon. I got a different battery coming in for this build specifically. I'm not going to be running the 6500 Gens Ace because it's only 50C. So I have an R1 battery that's going to be coming in, and I also have a 4.5T motor that should be coming in, and I will go over the electronics in depth when I get that stuff all set up. So with that, I hope you guys are interested in the build, and stay tuned to how it progresses. Cheers.